Boxing King Media in association with Boxro. We've got boxing superstar Blair the Flair Cobbs. Blair, start us off with a woo.
Absolutely. You know what it is. Blair the Flair, the most exciting man in boxing. Woo!
Legend. Blair, I've got to start off. Obviously, I'm not caught up with you since your last fight. Maurice Hooker, I'm pretty sure you went into that fight as an underdog. Most people were expecting that Maurice would probably be too technical for you, better skill than you, but the fight was completely opposite to what most people were predicting. Would I be right in saying that?
Absolutely. A lot of people had me losing that fight, going into it. Even people that's known me, that knows who I am and everything like that. But Blair the Flair is very unconventional in many cases and very unpredictable. And that's what makes boxing excitement. And that's what makes Blair the Flair the most exciting fighter in boxing because you don't know what to expect. You don't know what to expect. So going into these fights, I could be a heavy underdog and be expected to lose and still rise to the occasion and win and be a winner once more. So like I just love the idea of just like taking these chances to wow the audience and give people that opportunity for greatness.
100%. And it must be nice to know that the only losses Maurice Hooker has on his record are Jose Ramirez, Virgil Ortiz, Blair Cobbs. Obviously, the two names I mentioned before you, they're regarded like top 10 welterweights in the world. Do you know what I mean? And your name's alongside them.
Yeah, and I talked to like people gotta understand the circumstances surrounding the fight compared to the other circumstances surrounding those fights. And after the fight, because like he went the distance, he got hit with like some of my best shots. Like fight, like I threw punches, ain't no way you can counter. There's no way that you can escape. It's the exact same shots that would put most fighters in their grave. Like even people that are likes of Terrence Crawford will go down with those shots. I've been trained to fight Terrence Crawford. I've been trained to fight some of the top elite fighters once I have the opportunity. And I had to pull off those skills very early in that fight, because of the circumstances that was involved. And after talking to Maurice Hooker, because he came in overweight, they came in expecting to run Blair the Flair over, and the fight was supposed to be stopped in his favor before the third round. And that's what Terrence Crawford said, and everybody had trained for. They came in overweight on purpose to have that physical edge.
Three
And
pounds over, that's a lot of weight, 3 pounds.
yeah, well, yeah, it's substantial, especially when he fluctuates much higher than I do, and like that played a big factor. So, but with all that being said, I talked to Maurice Hooker because like literally, like while we're in the ring, and they're doing the the whole thing at the end and introducing the winner to the fight, and I'm like, what was that? I talked to Hooker, like literally face to face. If you guys can see the video footage, I'm like, what the fuck was that? What the fuck was that? Like, where was all of that? Where was all of that? That warrior instinct and like that fight. Where was all that fight in the other two fights? Where was all that fight in the Ortiz fight? In the other fight, the what was it? What's his name?
Jose Ramirez.
Jose Ramirez. Yeah, what was the
Yeah,
fight?
and he's only
Where
lost.
was that?
Where was
Yeah,
that?
yeah, where was that? And I said, what the hell was that? Like you was completely different compared to those guys. And we was talking, and he said, look, man,
That was in
the
Texas.
circumstances revolving those two fights were different. Thank you. Were different compared to the circumstances in this fight. I'm like, really? He's like, yeah, man. Like in the Ortiz fight, he came into the fight with a broken hand already. Before the fight, he already had a broken hand. And then in the other fight, like he said that he had a horrible camp.
And it's worth mentioning that was at super lightweight as well.
Yeah. So like he said he had a horrible camp and like he didn't have enough time to prepare. But like with my fight, he had more than enough time to prepare and he was well ready to fight me. And he came in at the weight that he needed to be able to like, make sure that he's not in danger of losing the fight. So like I fought I fought Hooker at his best. And the results were shown at Maurice Hooker's very, very best compared to Ortiz and the other guy, Martinez. Those fights were circumstantial fights where they won, but it was under the circumstances that was placed on Hooker.
And
Nothing to take away from those guys, but that's something that people should like really take notice of. The other fight, I have another fight where as though it was a common fight that both me and Virgil Ortiz had, and that was against Brad Solomon. And in Brad Solomon, there was circumstances that was involved in the fight compared to mine. And Brad Solomon came in way more prepared, and I was considered an underdog
you both
yet
stopped.
again in my
Both
own fight. Huh?
You both stopped him in 5 rounds, I think, if I can remember right.
Yeah, we both stopped him in 5 rounds, but there was difference between mine and his. In Virgil Ortiz fight, he only had 2 weeks to prepare to fight Virgil Ortiz. In the fight against me, Blair Cobbs, he had nearly 3 months. He had 2.5 months of full preparation and already signed, dated contract, already knowing mentally, physically, and spiritually who he's fighting, everything laid out, even financially laid out.
So
The con
what you're saying to me, Blair. Do you feel like you're not getting the credit for the few solid wins you've got on your record? You're not getting the credit that you should be getting. Is that what you're
Absolutely
saying?
not. I don't get the credit, and people don't notice or understand the circumstances that's involved when it comes to these young athletes.
Do you think,
And
I'll tell you what, Blair, just looking at it as an outsider, do you think it's because, because your style is unconventional? People are just used to seeing like straight up boxing, straight shots. You punch from unconventional angles. And when people see that, they think, what's this guy doing? But that's your boxing style. It works for you. And it obviously works. It's got you, I mean, numerous amount of wins. You got, you're 15-1, and that tells you something. So it's a style that obviously works. Everyone has their own style.
yeah, it's just is that, and also the thing is, right, we don't really get to know who the best is out there based around circumstantial fights and promotion. We don't really get to see how great a fighter is based upon politics, this, that, this, that. It's just so much going on in boxing that like it's a shame that the fans are being robbed of seeing what greatness really look like. And it's even become a fad, whereas though people like to think of how to like manipulate fights and manipulate fighters to the top without actually like proving themselves.
And with
You
regards
know,
to, the weight issue with Maurice, were you compensated for that?
we were compensated a
Little bit.
little bit, like 15,000, not too much, but
Okay.
like and like they already came
Some
in
light
there
change,
knowing that they were going to take a little bit loss of the financial part,
some
but
light
then
change.
like to win a fight.
Yeah. Or just saying some light change for Blair Cobbs.
Yeah, yeah.
Man. And obviously, it's been a while since you fought because I was looking at your record. Like in the last, when it gets to December this year, you will have only had 3 fights in 3 years, which isn't really good enough, is it? You got to be more active. That I'm seeing like a common problem with mainly in the US where it's either PBC fighters or certain people who are fighting on the zone. You guys are not getting enough action. Why is that? Because top level welterweights, you're getting like one fight a year.
I don't know.
Do you
I
guys
don't
see
know
that?
what.
Do you guys see it? You must see the guys in the UK getting maybe 2, 3 fights a year, and you guys are getting like one a year.
Like, yeah, and it's very frustrating. You don't like I don't know who to blame outside of Golden Boy and this and that. And it's like you can blame a lot. You can blame the fact that like we went through like COVID and that was pretty tough for a lot of people to rebound. Only like Top Rank really continued on and pressed on and rebound from COVID. And it was just a lot of circumstances that put people in that particular situation. But like I really hope that that things change, that things change for the better. Hopefully I get a fight in December. We're in negotiations with Golden Boy, and I know Golden Boy is working very hard to keep these fights going and keep business alive. But it's really taxing on the people and the fighters to not have these fighters fight consistently or being promoted high enough to a point where people want to see them and they got well more than enough time to prepare to see them.
I'll give you an example of it. You see COVID, like Michael Mickinson, who fought Virgil Ortiz, and he stopped in 9 rounds by Virgil. He's had 6 fights since COVID. So in the same amount of time since you've had 3, he's had 6, and he's been through COVID. I just want to use that as an example for like a British fighter. These guys are getting like 2 fights here, and it's like you've got Terence Crawford, you got Gervonta Davis, Ryan Garcia. These guys are just like nobody's active. It's crazy, man. Because we see that from the UK side, and we're wondering like why these guys getting no action because it must demotivate you as a fighter.
Yeah, it's tough.
Mm.
It's tough being in boxing right now. Whereas though, like it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work to finally build like a platform to finally like captivate fans and bring fans to the idea of you being champion, and then really getting called to a halt just because of like the fact that like you don't have a fight.
And
And it's ridiculous. I wouldn't even mind just going to UK just to knock off some fights. You know what I mean, and get things going. Um, and that's just ridiculous. Like it's ridiculous that like that we can't like get ourselves together when it comes to American boxing and like television channels, promoters, and just it's a lot of politics and financial out here and there type stuff.
and have you got anything lined up? Have you been told a potential date or anything?
I mean, I like it's like I was told a date like the day of the fight of my last fight, and then all things disappeared after I won that fight. All things, like almost as if like it wasn't
You
like,
weren't supposed
damn
to.
it. Yeah, I wasn't supposed to win though. Like silly rabbit.
So let's move on to somebody that I know you're a huge, huge fan of, Conor Benn. So just tell me, when you all have heard about the failed drugs test, what was the reaction in America? Obviously, it's your weight division, so you must have had eyes on it. What was it? What is the overall reaction from the US boxing public to what's happened?
Well, that was a fight that was possibly being made next. That was the next big fight. The next big attraction was going to be a mega fight between Blair and Conor Benn. Top 10 athletes, top 10 welterweights, banging it out, and probably got the most exposure and the most crowd pleasing personalities in boxing itself. And it's just a shame that like right now he's going through a whole lot of stuff. So that fight that was a potential to make millions and possibly even $1 billion, now it's like down to zero because of what had transpired. It's a shame. And like I hope that he rebounds from this incident. But like one thing I need to let people understand is this. It seems like these young athletes, all of these top athletes, all these young athletes that's out here, it is absolutely paralyzed and super afraid. Even promoters, super afraid to put people in fair fights. 100% fair. Even the Alexis Rocha fight, not fair. I only trained 4 weeks to prepare for that fight. You know what I'm saying? And didn't know, didn't have a contract, nothing. It was so much bullshit that went into that fight that made that fight what it is. What was the last time I fought a whole year before? When's the last time he fought? Like 4 months. Like it's just way too much bullcrap that's going on when it comes to these fights. It's just a ridiculous because now you have to bid the question. These people, all of them, all of the young athletes are just afraid of a 50-50 throw them in the air gamble for greatness. You know what I mean? It's like it's just so hard to find a fight that's like literally a fair fight.
Do you mean in
And
the context of like weight? Are you referring to the fact that Chris Eubank Jr. had to come down and boil down to 157 to fight? Is that what you're referring to? The weights?
no, what I'm referring to is the fact that like we have Conor Benn like that's caught on steroids and all that stuff, and that could have very well been something that he was dealing with and was going and was like involved in well through his career. I mean, you would look at his career, and it's not like he has that much more technique than anybody else to get these knockouts, and he's not that spectacular. If you actually do the research, it is very, very common for people that are users, not just random people just training. Yes, people will overtrain and it'll show in your performance. So, like, I see a lot of athletes trying to trick and steal their way to the top. And then you have Blair going the hard route. I fought multiple undefeated fighters.
I wanted to ask you about the test, and obviously you'll have seen the whole situation with Conor Benn yesterday. They reported allegedly that he actually failed two tests for the same steroid.
Yeah.
One I believe was a WBC test, and one was a random VADA test. So what is your reaction to that? I think Conor's made a statement today, and he's still protesting his innocence.
Um, I don't know. I think protesting your innocence is kind of a waste of time. It's proof in the pudding. It's just like, dude, we can test you 1,000 times. How long? Well, how long is it going to take for you to get that out your system? I looked it up. Like that shit takes over 2 months to get out of your system. So it's going to be quite a thing to like actually like get away with it when you're tested for it. It's kind of hard. So and so I don't know. It's my initial reaction is like, damn. Well, that just like ruins a whole lot of things. You know what I mean? But then it also produces more opportunity for me as well. So like I'm just looking at like, yeah, that was a potential great fight that I could have made happen. But now there's there's a place for Blair.
It's potentially cost him a $6-7 million payday against Chris Eubank Jr. as well.
Yeah, I mean, obviously that's extremely bad.
Oh.
But what I see is just like, goddamn, it's just destroyed a lot of things that he had going on for him. So like, hopefully he can rebound from it. You know what I mean? However long he has to sit down for it,
Mm.
2, 3, 4, 5 years. You know what I mean? Hopefully he can rebound from it. He's young. He'll handle it. I went through that. I went through shit like that early in my career. Like I was 4-0 for 3 years straight in the beginning stages of my career. Couldn't get a fight, couldn't do nothing, couldn't get nothing done. The most feared fighter in Philadelphia by far, and the most we call it hidden gem, biggest hidden gem in America for a very, very long time. Um
Yeah, it's crazy.
Hopefully
It's
he can
crazy to
he can
imagine.
have the strength that I have.
It's crazy to imagine that you made your debut in 2013 and what almost 11 years, not 11 years, and my math's right, nine years on, you've only had 17 fights. Sorry, not some 18 fights. That's not a lot, is it? Should be a lot more than that.
Not a lot, and they're not. Most of my fights are not easy fights, especially in the last quite a few actually, especially in the last few years.
Mm.
They weren't they weren't really developmental fights like the fights that most people would have. They were worse than 50-50 fights. I was expected to lose most of these fights that I fought. And then I rose to the occasion to win and come and go up the top. And then not only that, I had like a persona and a character that was attractive to the world market. This is something that nobody else is doing. This is the most captivating and most inspiring trail that any fighter could ever take to and be successful. It calls for promotion. It calls for people to get up off their ass and start promoting the fight and promoting this fighter. And hopefully we can see something happen in a near future.
And
You know,
I just wanted to ask you as well, Blair. I spoke to a few British fighters, and I've asked a lot of them how many times have they been tested in their careers, and majority of them who haven't fought in world title fights are either saying never or maybe once or twice. How many times have you been tested in your professional career? Random testing,
like tested, we mean like
like for
blood.
steroids. Yeah, any type of testing. I'm just trying to wonder, just curious to know how what's the testing like in America.
Oh, you talking about like tested on like as far as blood and urine and all
Like
that stuff.
yeah, Vardens, yeah,
Well, you know what? It's like I used to be tested all the time, like every fight when I was getting the fights done, and then now it's like that last fight I didn't get tested.
crazy.
You know what I mean? Obviously I was clean, but like and like I was looking forward to getting tested, but just they just never really tested people. They
Mm.
might give you like a urine test or whatever, this and that. And sometimes the way I be thinking that there's gotta be more to that.
It costs money apparently. If I'm speaking, and
Yeah.
nobody's willing
I
to pay
mean,
for the testing.
not just money. I mean, god damn it, it like that's an expense that's worthy.
Mm.
That's expected and worthy expense. Making sure the sport is clean, So coming into the Alexis Rocha fight, I was tested, and then the fight with Virgil Ortiz was off right around the testing time, and it's like, but then the next fight with McKinson, I didn't get tested. Bids the question, did they get tested? I ask a lot of questions, and it might get me in trouble. But the thing is, man, who else is gonna ask these questions? I mean, because it like you have a lot of fighters out there, and like boxing is very dangerous. And like the people that I know that have been on steroids, like the athletes, not like boxing, but like weightlifters and this and that, and even my relatives that might have like they're just old dudes that just want to look better than they usually are. When they tell me what's going on with like these type of steroid use and all that stuff, they say that it makes a dramatic change. Like it ain't like a little increment change. It's like boom, that like 10 times better than what you ever could ever be in your life. So like that's crazy. But then that's like now I know why. Like it's banned and it should be banned and people should respect it. And fighters should be I feel like fighters should have a little bit more courage and belief in themselves to like be safe, be clean, and keep the sport clean. And if you take a loss, it ain't over. You know what I mean? Because nobody cares about how perfect you are. They want the comeback story. That's what's inspiring. You know
And
what I mean? You know what's inspiring? Blair to Flair. You know what's not inspiring? Alexis Rocha. It's just that simple. Nobody give a shit about Alexis Rocha. You know what I mean? He fought me, he won, but then like he fought another guy that like had like a 1 week notice. He fought me at fucking 4 week notice. Nobody even knew if I was fighting until like 2 weeks before the fight. That's because I didn't have no contract. You know what I mean? While he's well prepared, I'm fucking stressed out because my finances went down because like I haven't had a fight in a year. You know what I'm saying? Like he's not fighting the best Blair to Flair. You know what I'm saying? And then like so when he wins, it's not even that great. People move on. Like who did he fight literally right after that? Nobody. But then you have me. And who did I fight? A top 10 contender. A top 10 contender. You know what I mean? Like most people would be like, oh, hell no. Hell no. I'm not fighting that fight literally right off a loss. But like to have that amount of courage and belief in yourself to fight such a fight, whereas though you're yet again a major underdog, you know what I'm saying? You have everything to lose all in a second and go in there and like not just win, but look spectacular and win on every level, knockdowns, beat downs, and even at the end of the day, technique and technical winning. I won on so many levels that it brings fear to people like Alexis Rocha, Virgil Ortiz, hell, even Terrence Crawford. He ain't know what the fuck to do. Like, he don't know what to do with that. Like give him movement. I don't even know. Like he's a monster. Get him out of there. You know, it's now it's just a matter of time before somebody like me, Blair to Flair, rises to where he rightfully belongs. You know, and it's I just wish that like people and circumstances and promoters and all that stuff will get on the bandwagon of just a fair fight and the best and let the best man win.
and just a final question for you, Blair. You obviously told me in the past that you're a huge fan of Conor Benn. The question is, are you still a fan of Conor Benn, and what your feelings about Conor Benn now?
Well, I don't know, man. It's kind of hard to like. It's kind of hard to judge because people go through things. You know what I mean? I go through all kinds of things. I be going through depression. I don't know what the hell he's going through. You know what I mean? And like what he's going through right now, what he's going through, like with like the looming idea of his career, like possibly being over. You know what I mean? And being and sitting down for quite some time, which he rightfully deserves to sit the hell down. You know, but I don't know. It's to say that like oh like I'm not a fan. I don't know, man. Cause like I don't know the truth. Like I don't know how deep this is. Like this is this fight. He got caught on steroids for a fight where he's moving well up his weight class to a whole nother weight class to fight somebody else that's multiple weight classes heavier. And he needs to like build up strength and power and like in his body to even hang with such an athlete, to even hang with like that particular person. You know, so like those circumstances just different. Like you damn right you should expect the motherfucker on steroids at this point. Like, I mean, obviously he probably should like maybe timed it different to a point where as though it's not actually in the fight, like whatever he's got in him is not in the fight and not in the actual training camp, but before training camp or something. I don't know. I don't know how things go. But those are circumstances that people need to like look at. I mean, who is he fighting? He's fighting a motherfucker that's 160. Like, On a good day. On his best day, he's 160. Like, that's his fight weight. And he's 147. Trying to make just a show. My thing is, why not just have that much more courage? I don't need to cheat. And regardless, it don't even fucking matter. It really don't matter if Conor Benn had lost that fight. It's not like it was in his weight class. It doesn't hurt his ranking. And like, but it was something to give to the fans. That's what I saw. So I don't know. I would say that, like, yeah, I'm still a fan on some level. On some level, I'm still a fan. Yeah, I mean, I think that he produces a lot of charisma and brings a lot to boxing when it comes to the UK fans. He's a lot like Blair, but right now he is considered a cheater, and he might need to sit down for a sec. And like all I see is opportunities. They say, oh yeah, throw a Blair in there with a guy he ain't supposed to win. Like, I don't see the fact that, shit, I'm not supposed to win this fight. No, I see, okay, this is an opportunity. Right now I see an opportunity. You guys need a champion. You guys need a star. Blair is here. Why not?
Well, Blair, I really appreciate your time. You're a busy man, and we'll look forward to hopefully seeing you back in the ring before end of the year. I'll let you sign out.
Absolutely. You can check me out live on the Boxing King Media. You can check me out on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube, whatever you got at Blair. And for more exciting content, the official BlairTheFlair.com. It's the most exciting man in boxing. Once again, the biggest star attraction. Woo!